Countdown.
Tahniah! Siaran langsung ini dibawakan khas kepada anda oleh Akademi YouTuber Malaysia, sebuah inisiatif e-didik Malaysia dan Kelab Guru Malaysia. Tumpukan perhatian anda, siaran langsung akan bermula sebentar lagi. Link sijil akan diberikan di hujung siaran ini. Pastikan diisi dalam tempoh yang ditetapkan. Terima kasih.
Hai semua, apa khabar? Salam
Hai.
sejahtera dan selamat datang ke Pusat Tuisyen AYU. Sebuah pusat tuisyen percuma yang pertama di Malaysia, bermula percuma dan selama-lamanya percuma. Saya adalah Cikgu Yi yang berperanan sebagai moderator untuk sesi live hari ini. Subjek kelas tuisyen hari ini adalah Perakaunan dan yang akan disampaikan oleh Cikgu Yati. Jadi tanpa melengahkan masa, Cikgu akan memperkenalkan ahli-ahli dalam konti kita. Presenter kita hari ini adalah Cikgu Yati. Dan diikuti dengan host controller kita adalah Madam Fizi. Dan pemerhati kita hari ini adalah Cikgu Lee. Berikut merupakan perkara-perkara yang peserta perlu ambil perhatian dalam kelas ini ya. Sila gunakan gambar profil yang bersesuaian dan tutur bahasa yang sopan di ruangan chat. Sila on kamera dan mic jikalau anda dipilih untuk naik ke ruang studio bersama dengan presenter. Dan sila tumpukan perhatian terhadap presenter dan hanya menggunakan ruangan chat untuk menjawab soalan atau jika ada soalan yang ingin ditujukan. Dan pada akhir siaran ini, link e-sijil akan diberikan dan anda hanya mempunyai 30 minit sahaja untuk mengisi maklumat anda. Sila pastikan bahawa nama dan email yang anda berikan adalah betul kerana tiada pembetulan akan dibenarkan. Sekarang saya akan memperkenalkan presenter kita hari ini dengan lebih mendalam. Beliau adalah Cikgu Yati Cikgu Nohayati binti Ismail dan beliau mengajar di Kolej Matrikulasi Negeri Sembilan. Mata pelajaran yang diajar oleh beliau adalah Perakaunan. Beliau merupakan seorang cikgu yang sangat berpengalaman kerana pengalaman mengajar beliau adalah selama 27 tahun. Dan hari ini beliau akan menyampaikan tajuk yang berbunyi Basic Accounting Concept. Jadi tanpa membuang masa lagi, saya serahkan kelas kita kepada Cikgu Yati. Dipersilakan Cikgu Yati.
Okay, thank you, Miss Yi, as a moderator for tonight. So thank you to Madam Fizi as host controller dan juga Miss Lee sebagai pemerhati. Okay, welcome back to my channel, Cikgu Yati channel. And I just want to introduce myself. My name Nohayati binti Ismail and I am teaching in Kolej Matrikulasi Negeri Sembilan. My teaching experience is 27 years where I'm teaching in the school 15 years and matriculation 12 years. And don't forget to visit my channel, Cikgu Yati channel. And this is my account and economic pra-university, and this is the combination between STPM and matriculation. And this group is led by Madam Fizi. And we also have mathematics team and the leader is Teacher Im. And also for this one, biology pra-university, the leader is Cikgu Faiza. And this is the group for chemistry and the leader is Cikgu Shahnun. And this is physics team led by Cikgu Rosmaya. Okay, don't forget to visit the portal Academy YouTuber, www.academyyoutuber.com. Okay, now I just want to present for this topic, basic accounting concept. So this is the topic 2 under Matriculation College Curriculum Specification. Okay, this is the learning objective. The first one, GAAP ataupun Generally Accepted Accounting Principle. Number 2, the accounting concept. 3, accounting equation. And the last one, double entry system. Okay, now we look at the meaning of generally accepted accounting principle. Actually, this is the set of standard, and this is an ongoing process. Accounting principle change to reflect changes in the business environment. Okay, this is the guideline or regulation or the concept that must be followed by all the accountant. And the report must be recorded in the financial statement, and it must be complete and easy to understand in order to make a comparison. So GAP means that the guideline or regulation that must be followed by accountants. Okay, there are a few accounting concepts, and this is the specification curriculum for matriculation. Number 1, historical cost. Number 2, historical cost dalam sejarah. Monetary unit concept means that wang sebagai ukuran. Economic entity concept, it means that badan entiti berasingan ataupun ekonomi berasingan. Going concern mean berterusan, konsep yang berterusan ya. Consistency concept, it means that kekekalan. Accounting period ialah keuangan. Accounting concept apa maksudnya? Ni the accounting period ialah tempoh perakaunan. Materiality adalah materiality atau kebendaan. Revenue recognition, hasil, pengiktirafan hasil. Expense recognition, pengiktirafan belanja. Full disclosure, ni istilah ya. Full disclosure adalah pendedahan penuh. And 11, objectivity dan fair value measurement. So this is 12 concept that you should know the meaning for accounting concept. Okay, number 1, historical cost, or we call cost principle, cost sejarah. The acquired assets and services should be recorded at their actual cost. So their actual cost, it means the cost of purchase for the fixed asset or any other asset. And the cost is a reliable measure and can be approved and should continue reporting the historical cost of an asset over its useful life. So that means all the assets must be recorded at their actual cost or at their purchase cost. The purchase cost written in the invoice. Okay, the example, the company purchased a car from supplier with a cost price RM20,000 at 21st August 2020. The market value increased up to 25,000 ringgit on the next day. What is the cost should be recorded by the company and why? So the conclusion is the value should be recorded as RM20,000 because it comply with historical cost. Comply with historical cost, that means patuh kepada konsep kos sejarah. Kos sejarah ialah kos asal. Because cost is a reliable measure. Yes.
Ya, boleh tak saya minta izin untuk menyampaikan digit pertama untuk kepada pelajar-pelajar?
Okay.
Okey, pelajar-pelajar semua, digit untuk hari ini adalah huruf A1. A1. Okey, terima kasih Cikgu Yati.
Okay, itu adalah kredit ya, kredit untuk claim by the student. Okay, this one we must record at the actual cost ataupun the purchase cost. Okay, the next one, The second one, monetary unit concept ataupun wang sebagai ukuran. So the accounting records only the transaction data that can be expressed in money term ataupun in the monetary terms. So all the transaction must be expressed in terms of money. Money is a common denominator in the business. So let's say that accounting, accounting generally assume a stable monetary unit. Example of monetary units are the ringgit in Malaysia, or another example, pound sterling in United Kingdom. So example, a transaction occurred in the organization, but the value cannot be determined. So this transaction in the business, they must express all the transaction in terms of monetary. So if based on this transaction, the company does not comply with monetary unit concept, because the transaction must be recorded in the monetary units concept, and the value must not change with the inflation situation. So in this case, the company does not comply with monetary unit concept. The next one, economic entity concept. Entity economy atau entity perasingan. Okay, look at the picture. This is the owner and this is the business. So the activities of the entity must be kept separately and distinct from the activities of the owner. And you look at the picture, this is the owner, and all other economic entities such as the owners of the entity, supplier, and customer. So the owner must be separately from the business. That is the conclusion. So the entity needs to be evaluated separately, and the transaction of different entity should not be accounted for together. So all the transaction for owner must always separately from the business. Okay, example, the company purchased a car for his wife by using money from the business operation. He had recorded the purchase as a business asset. Besides that, all the expenses such as fuel, oil was recorded as business expenses. So in conclusion, the company does not comply with the economic entity concept, because we should know that the entity must be recorded separately from the owner. So the purchase should be recorded as drawing, because the transaction was the personal transaction and not recorded as purchases of the asset. But we must record sebagai drawing. Drawing ialah ambilan. Okay. The next one, going concern concept. Okay, for this concept, the enterprise will continue in operation long enough to carry out its existing objective. It means that the entity will remain in operation for foreseeable future. Berterusan, that means the company must assume that they will have to continue their activities in the future with no expected date. So most firm resources such as supplies, land, buildings, and equipment are acquired to use rather than to sell. Okay, so it means that the company remain in operation for the foreseeable future. So, the example, the company purchased a car with a cost RM 20,000 with the estimated useful life for 10 years. So you can see this company purchased a car with the cost RM 20,000 for 10 years. The market value for that car is RM 25,000, and it is suggested that the car should be depreciated existed for 5 years. Okay, you can see that the 5 year only. Actually, it is stated that for 10 years. Why did you just depreciate for 5 years? Because the business is expected to make a clearance in a short period. So what is the conclusion? This company does not comply with going concern concept. The suggestion must be rejected because it is contrary with the going concern concept. The vehicle should be recorded as the value of 20,000 and must be depreciated. Depreciated means susut nilai. Kena susut nilai for 10 years, not 5 years. Because we assume that the company remain operate for the foreseeable future. Maknanya berterusan. Okay. The trade must be assumed to operate for the period that cannot be expected. So it means that the company does not comply with going concern concept. The next one, consistency concept ataupun ketekalan. What is the meaning for consistency concept? Consistency means that a company use the same accounting principle and method for year to year. So it means that the company will use the same method from 1 year to another year. When financial information has been reported on a consistent basis, the financial statement permit meaningful analysis of trend within a company. Example, the company use straight line method in depreciating the fixed asset of the company. The company decide to change to another method that we call declining balance method. So what is the conclusion? So the conclusion is the company does not comply with consistency method because the consistency method must use the same method. Consistency concept must use the same method from 1 year to another year. So any changes should be disclosed in the notes to the financial statement. So the conclusion is the company must use the same method from 1 year to another year. Okay, the next one, accounting period concept. Tempoh perakaunan, time period covered by financial statement is known as accounting period. So time period assumption means that a business activities can be divided into specific period such as a month, a quarter or a year. Normally the company will state their time period, normally for 1 year, in order to make a comparison of a business performance from year to year or over time. Example, the company has established at 1st January 2019. The trade closed ataupun the company closed the business account every 12 months at 31st December every year. Explain the concept involved. So based on the example, the company comply with accounting period concept because this is a normal condition when the trade comply with the accounting period where the financial statement will be held every 12 months ataupun this company will close its business yearly, every year, yearly. So they start with the beginning of the year, January, and 31st December is at the end of the year. Okay, the next one, materiality concept ataupun kebendaan. Materiality relates to an item's impact. So it gives an impact on a firm's overall financial statement and operation. So an item is material when it is likely to influence the decision of a reasonably prudent investor or creditor. So, to determine the materiality of an amount, the accountant usually compares it with such item as total asset, total liabilities, and net income. So, the keyword here, an item is material when it will influence the decision of financial statement, or it can give an impact, memberi kesan on a firm's overall financial statement. Financial statement maknanya keuangan, penyata keuangan. Apa-apa yang memberi kesan pada penyata keuangan, kita panggil dia materiality concept. Okay, this is the example. A company purchased a calculator, cost only RM20, and it will depreciate for 5 years over its useful life. Give your opinion. So the conclusion is the company does not comply with materiality concept. Although the proper accounting would depreciate the calculator over its useful life, but these costs are considered as immaterial. Immaterial, it means that the cost is very small. It will not make a material difference on total asset and net income. So this amount is immaterial because it just use only a small amount, and it does not influence the overall financial statement. Sorry.
Cikgu Yati, tibanya masa untuk mengumumkan digit yang kedua. Ya. Okay, digit yang kedua untuk hari ini adalah nombor 2. Nombor 2, ya. Okay, thank you Cikgu Yati.
Alright, so boleh claim the credit for student ya. Okay, so kita continue with materiality concept. So that means the item that give an impact on overall financial statement that one we call material. But if the amount is quite small and does not give any influence to the financial statement, that one we call immaterial. Okay, this is revenue recognition. So revenue recognition adalah hasil, pengiktirafan hasil. So we must recognize revenue in the period they are earned. So when the merchandise has arrived to the buyer, or when services are rendered, even cash receivable, okay, ataupun dalam maksud lain ialah when the merchandise has arrived to the buyer, or when the services are rendered even though the cash has not received yet. So we have to recognize the revenue. Okay, this is the criteria for revenue recognition. There is a change of ownership. So from the seller to the buyer, or the seller have give the service to the buyer, so that one is revenue recognition. So the buyers are willing to pay. So maybe the buyer will be paid for next month, but the change of ownership had incurred. So that one is revenue recognition. The stability of the currency and buyers are able to pay. Okay, example. Azman is an entrepreneur pottery. He has received 100 reservations or orders porcelain based on 1st January 2018 and has received a payment of RM1,000. So this is the date of 1st January 2018. So just received an order only, okay? The booking was sent on January 15, 2018. When the sales above should be recognized, give your opinion. So, conclusion, Encik Azmal need to recognize sales revenue of 1,000 on 15 January 2018 because of a change of ownership at that date. So we cannot recognize revenue at this date, 1st of January 2018, because this is reservation only ataupun tempahan sahaja. So there is the changes of ownership on 15 January 2018, then the company can recognize the revenue. Okay, the next one, expense recognition. Expenses are recorded in the accounting period in which it has been involved for a business revenue. So when the company earn revenue, there is an expenses that must be recorded. So expenses are recognized when they are incurred, even if payment has not been made. So kalau the expenses incurred, we must record in the financial statement, even though the company does not make any payment. So the goal is to find out the actual amount of revenue and expenditure for a financial period. So this is the way to recognize expenses at the end of the accounting period, because we want to record in the financial statement. So example, Wantina has recorded expenses of RM2,000 for the utility in December 2020, although payment will only be made in January 2021. So the conclusion, Wantina comply with expense recognition concept because the expenses have been recorded for the current period. Okay, this is the current period. The current period is December 2020. Even though the company or Wantina will pay the expenses in January 2021, but the expenses had incurred during December. So Wantina should record the date of the expenses at the date of December 2020. Okay, full disclosure ataupun pendedahan penuh. Okay, the company should report the sufficient information, for example, relevant, reliable, comparable, so that external parties can make a reasonable decision. So that means if there are any changes in the financial statement, the company should make a report for the sufficient information. Okay, this is the example. Farida Company Limited had made changes in stock valuation method used. The company did not disclose the information in the financial statement for the accounting period. So it means that the company does not make any record in the financial statement. So the conclusion is the company does not comply with the full disclosure concept, where any changes that have been made should be reported in the notes to the account or to the financial statement. The aim is to inform the users, normally the external users, for the changes in the financial statement. So full disclosure concept means that all the changes, all the information must be recorded in the financial statement for external users. Okay. Objectivity based on the source document. All accounting data must provide evidence of valid and reliable source of document to support transaction occur. For example, the invoice. So this invoice you must comply. This invoice you must attach in the transaction because it shows that the transaction had occurred. So when the transaction had occurred, the source document must be used as evidence. The goal is, or the objective is, to prevent accountant in giving subjective and inaccurate opinion. Beside invoice, you can use another source of document. For example, receipt, the payment voucher, debit notes, and credit notes. That ones are all the source of document. Okay, the example, KZB Enterprise only issued a receipt. A receipt refers to source document for cash transaction. But for the return of goods sales transaction or goods return ataupun pulangan barang, no source document is issued, or that company does not attach the source document for the return of goods sales transaction. Give your opinion. So based on this transaction ataupun based on this company, there are two transactions, one for receipt because of cash transaction, and another one is the return of goods sales transaction. So give your opinion. The company does not comply with the concept of objectivity for the return of goods sales transaction. Goods sales transaction return to that mean pulangan jualan. We have to the customer will return the good because of the damage. So the company must give the document. Normally we call that document credit note.
Okey,
Okay.
Cikgu Yati. Marilah kita rehat sebentar dan memberi laluan kepada iklan AYU ya.
Okay.
Wow, banyaknya hadiah menarik menanti anda.
Wah, kini Akademi YouTuber mengambil inisiatif baru di mana memberikan hadiah-hadiah ini secara percuma. Ya, percuma kepada anda semua. Bagaimana caranya? Dengan mengikuti kelas tuition online percuma Akademi YouTuber sambil mengutip mata kredit, anda dapat menukarkannya dengan hadiah-hadiah yang menarik ini. Tunggu apa lagi? Segalanya percuma.
Jangan lepaskan peluang tau. Dah dapat banyak hadiah menarik, takkan nak lepaskan peluang.
Layari www.academyyoutuber.com sekarang untuk maklumat lanjut.
Dibawakan kepada anda oleh Akademi YouTuber.
Selamat kembali semua. Kita teruskan dengan kelas kita hari ini. Dipersilakan Cikgu Yati.
Okay, kita continue with the concept objectivity. So objectivity concept, it means that the company must provide all the evidence, for example, the source of document. So for this example, the company does not comply with the concept of objectivity because the company does not provide credit notes as source document for return of goods sales transaction. Okay, all transactions that occurred should have the source of document. Source of document maknanya dokumen, sumber dokumen ya. Okay, it can also facilitate the recording of transactions. So that one kalau ada source of document, so it will easy for the company to record the transaction. Okay, fair value measurement concept. Okay, MFRS defined as the price that would be received to sell an asset or paid to transfer a liability in orderly transaction between market participant at the measurement date. The ideal determination of fair value is based on price offered in an active market. So that means it is quite contra with the historical concept. For historical concept, the company must use the actual cost. But for fair value measurement concept, when there is a sale of an asset, the company must use fair value price that is offered in an active market. So based on the price that offered in the market, not the actual price. Okay, this situation only incurred when the company want to sell an asset or paid to transfer a liability. Okay, the next one. Okay, accounting equation. This is the basic accounting equation. Asset equals to liabilities plus owner's equity. So this is the basic. This is the asset of the business, and in order to get the total asset of the business, we have to add liabilities plus owner's equity. And when you want to expand the equation, asset equals to liabilities plus owner's capital less owner's drawing plus revenue less expenses. So when you want to expand owner's equity mean milik, equity per milik. So equity per milik ni ada 4 item. Owner's capital, modal, drawing, ambilan, revenue, hasil, expenses ialah belanja. Asset ialah harta benda perniagaan. Liabilities adalah hutang perniagaan, obligation. So the basic one, asset. In order to get the asset, the company must add liabilities because they want to purchase the asset. They have to borrow from the bank. And at the same time, the owner's equity, that means the owner will invest to the company in terms of asset. Okay. Asset. Wealth. Resources owned by the business. So, assets are divided into two: non-current asset, asset tetap. So, asset that have a life of more than 1 year. So that means the asset must be used more than 1 year. For example, I give you, this is vehicle. So the vehicle will be used in the company to operate the business for more than 1 year. So non-current asset can be divided into 3 types. Tangible or fixed asset that can be seen physically. So you can touch, you can see. This one is fixed asset ataupun tangible asset that you can see the asset physically. You can see. Okay, example, building, vehicle, equipment. And another one, intangible asset, that you cannot see that asset physically. But you can know the terms for this one. Trademark, tanda dagang. Tanda dagang, for example, trademark camel. So the term trademark, that means we are using the name of the company, dan the name of the company tu we record as trademark. Bahasa Melayu lah tanda dagang. Patent ialah cipta, hak cipta. Copyright pun hak cipta, tapi copyright ni refer to the owner of the, for example, singer, video. Singer tu dia punya suara kan, so dia ada copyright for that album. So when you produce, when the editor produce the video, film, so they have their copyright. We cannot take that video for our, not belong to us, okay? And another one, long-term investment, pelaburan jangka panjang, fixed deposit for more than a year, and the purchase of bond. Okay, this is long-term investment, and this is the types of non-current asset.
Cikgu Yati, boleh tak
Okay.
kita umumkan digit yang ketiga untuk kelas hari ini? Okey, digit yang ketiga untuk hari ini adalah kosong. Kosong. Okey. Thank you, Cikgu Yati.
Okay. So the asset are divided into two categories. Non-current asset that is alive more than 1 year, and another type is current asset. Current asset exists in one accounting period and can be converted into cash within a year. So, example, inventory, stock ataupun bekalan stok, account receivable, account belum terima, cash and bank and so on. So this is we call current asset. Atau bahasa Melayu ialah aset semasa. And another one, the term that we are using for accounting period, accounting equation is liability, tanggungan. Okay, hutang perniagaan, debts, and or businesses obligation to be paid by business entity to another party. Okay, liabilities are divided into two types. So this is the debt or obligation that the company must pay to another party. For example, another party, bank, creditors ataupun supplier. The company own with the bank, supplier, creditors. Okay, liabilities are divided into two types. The number one, non-current liabilities. Okay, liabilities bukan semasa. So debts to be settled within a period exceeding 1 year. Ataupun debt to be settled more than 1 year. Example, long-term loans that we make with bank and mortgage. Mortgage ialah gadai janji. So this is the example for non-current liabilities where the company owe this with another party and they will pay after 1 year. Okay, this is current liabilities. Liabilities current, that means semasa. Debt due in less than a year. So that should be settled within 1 year. Example, account payable. Account payable ialah account belum bayar. Expense payable, belanja yang belum bayar. Unearned revenue. Okay, this one we call current liability, where we have the company must settle its debts within a year. Okay, owner's equity. Owner's equity atau bahasa Melayu ialah equity pemilik. That means the owner and the business is the different entity. So owners claim on asset of the business. And they include capital invested by the owner into the business. For example, the owner invests 10,000 ringgit into the business. So the owner will claim 10,000 from the business. The net profit result of the business activities. So the net profit means that revenue, sales less expenses, then we get net profit atau untung ya. Hasil tolak belanja kita akan dapat untung. Okay, there is the elements that involve in owner's equity. The first one, capital. or modal. So consists of asset that contribute by the owner in the business. So the owner will contribute or invest cash or asset into the business. That one we call capital. And it will increase the owner's equity because this is the asset of the owner, but it contributes into the business ataupun invest into the business. So we just look at the transaction. It will increase the owner's equity. The second one, drawing, owner issuing asset, cash or merchandise for its own use. Ataupun owner withdrew cash or goods or merchandise for her own use, for her family's use, for his family's use. So it will reduce the value of owner's equity. Dia mengurangkan equity pemilik because we have taken cash or goods from the business. Profit, the profit is the difference between revenue and expenditure. So when the revenue is greater than expenditure, that one profit, untung ya. So expenditure, perbelanjaan, the effect will reduce the owner's equity. And revenue, the effect will increase the owner's equity. So hasil menambahkan equity pemilik dan belanja mengurangkan equity pemilik. Sebab belanja dia telah mengurangkan, maksudnya dia telah menggunakan sebahagian harta in the company. Okay, revenues. All income from the sales of goods or the provision of services based on the concept of revenue recognition. So that means the sales of goods, when you are selling the goods, you will get revenue, or when you provide the services to the customer, there is revenue, hasil. There are two types of revenue. That one, revenue of business, revenue of non-business, ataupun business revenue, non-business revenue. So this is the main business sales and service revenue. And this one not related to the business, interest income, rental income gain on sales of fixed asset. And expenses use of asset or create liabilities in the cost of operating a business. This is expenses. So expenses will reduce owner's equity. There are two types of expenses. The operating expenses, that mean the expenses that incurred when we operate the business. Utilities, sales commission, delivery expenses, and not related to the operating the business. So when the company operate the business in order to get revenue, that one we call operating expenses. And for this one, non-operating expenses. For example, property tax on the administrative office building. Okay. So we look at the analysis of transaction. So just now we are looking at accounting equation. We know that asset equals to liabilities plus owner's equity. Now we look at the analysis of transaction. We want to make an analysis for each transaction based on asset, liabilities, and owner's equity. Okay, the first example, owner start the business with cash. So you can see the main keyword, the owner start a business. So it means that the owner invests cash, 1,000 into the business. So the analysis of transaction are asset, because the owner invests in the company, and at the same time liability, plus equity. So the analysis of transactions are cash increase 1,000 in the business, and so the asset in the business, it will increase the asset in the business 1,000 cash, and at the same time it will increase owner's equity with the amount of 1,000. So the analysis of transactions are increase in asset 1,000. So you just write down positive plus 1,000, and at the same time it will increase in equity, or the symbol is plus RM 1,000. The second one, owner withdraws 100 cash from the business for its own use ataupun for his own use. So we look at the accounting equation. Asset equals to liability plus equity. So the owner withdrew cash. So when the owner withdrew cash from the business, it will reduce asset in the business. And at the same time, it also reduces the owner's equity in the business with the amount of 100. So that one we call drawing, because drawing will reduce the owner's equity, and cash will reduce cash from the business because it has been taken by the owner. So the effects are, it will decrease in asset, the symbol is negative 100, and at the same time it will reduce owner's equity, the symbol is negative RM 100. Okay, the next transaction, receive RM 3,000 cash from Maybank for business loan. So the keyword here, loan, is related to liability. And cash received. So the business received 3,000 cash from bank by make a loan. So we look at the analysis of transaction. Asset equals to liability plus equity. So, okay, you can see this is the equation. Okay, when you add 3,000 cash, this one will, when we receive cash or when we make a loan from bank, the company will receive cash and it will increase the asset. And at the same time, this one, the symbol equal, it means that cash plus 3,000, and at the same time, bank loan increase plus RM 3,000. So the effects are, it will increase in asset in the business, and at the same time, it will increase in liability in the business. So you can see the equation for the left side equal to the equation in the right side. So that one we call accounting equation. The next one, example 4, the business pay loan 100 with cash. So pay loan, it will reduce cash in the business. So we look at the accounting equation. The effect is, it will reduce cash 100 in the business, and at the same time equals to, it will reduce the amount of liability because the company had paid 100 for liability, or they have paid loan from bank. So it will reduce loan. So you can see the equation here. The debit side or the left side equals to the right side, negative 100. Here also negative 100. And the effects are decrease in asset equals to decrease in liability. So this is accounting equation where in the left side equals to in the right side. The next one.
Cikgu Yati, kita
Ya.
umumkan digit yang terakhir ya untuk kelas hari ini. Okey, digit yang terakhir untuk hari ini adalah 6. Digit 6. Okey. Thank you Cikgu Yati.
Okay, thank you. The next one, business perform a service on credit for YY agency. So it means that when a business perform a service, that one increase the revenue for the company. Okay, we look at the transaction. Account receivable increase, and at the same time, the company earns the revenue 2,000. Okay, this one is asset increase because YY agency represent for account receivable, and at the same time, the service that given to YY agency, it will increase the revenue. So you look at the transaction, the left side plus 2,000 equals to the right side plus 2,000. So the effects are increase in the asset equals to increase in the equity. So that one we call accounting equation. Debit, the left side equals to the right side. Okay, example 6. Business pay. Okay, pay, that means the company will pay. That one is expenses. It will reduce the equity of the owner. Okay, look at this one. Business pay 290. That means it will reduce the asset of the company for the payment of the expenses. So for the assets of the company, pay cash. So it will reduce the amount of cash, and at the same time, owner's equity, the expenses will reduce the owner's equity. So the equation that in the debit, in the left side, reduce 290 equal to the right side, reduce 290. So the effects are it will decrease in asset in the company, and at the same time equals to it will decrease in equity because the expenses will reduce the owner's equity. Okay, now we look at the double entry accounting, or sometimes we call double entry system. So the double entry system in the accounting, which means that we record the dual effect of each transaction. Dual, that means two double account involved. Okay. As a result, every transaction affects at least two accounts, one debited and one credited. And it would be incomplete to record only the giving side or only the receiving side of a transaction. So this is double entry accounting or double entry system. The left side of the account we call debit, and the right side of the account we call credit. And we are going to learn more detail about T accounts in the coming topic, coming soon, okay? Okay, this is the rules of debit and credit. You must identify the item of the transaction. For example, for asset, when there is an increase of asset, we must record in the debit side. When there is a decrease of the asset, we have to record in the credit side. Okay, the contra. Okay, so this one expenses. When there is an increase in expenses, we must record in the debit side. So when the drawing When there is an increase for drawing, we record in the debit side. But if the asset reduce, we must record in the credit side. Okay, for this part, when there is an increase in the liability or equity or revenue, we must record in the credit side. And where is a decrease in liability, equity, or revenue, we must record in the debit side. So we must follow the rules of debit and credit under double entry system. Okay, that's all for today. Hope that you can understand for this topic. Okay, kembali semula kepada moderator. Thank you.
Terima kasih kepada Cikgu Yati atas perkongsian yang sangat bersahaja dan menarik ini. Dan tahniah juga diucapkan kepada semua pelajar yang setia bersama kelas pada malam ini dari awal sehingga ke saat ini. Jadi untuk makluman semua, link sijil boleh didapati pada ruangan chat. Sila beri perhatian. Link tersebut akan tamat tempohnya iaitu 30 minit selepas sesi live ini. Jadi pastikan anda menggunakan email yang betul dan kesalahan memasukkan email tidak akan dilayan. Jadi sebagai tanda penghargaan, marilah kita like, subscribe dan juga share channel presenter kita malam ini iaitu Cikgu Yati. Jadi sekarang dijemput ahli-ahli konti kita untuk memberi sepatah dua kata. Kita mula dengan host controller kita malam ini iaitu Madam Fizi. Dipersilakan Madam Fizi.
Okey, terima kasih Cikgu Yi, moderator kita pada hari ini. Okey, pertama kali saya nak ucapkan tahniah kepada Cikgu Yati kerana Cikgu Yati dapat memberi penerangan dengan sangat detail, jelas, bersahaja dan bermanfaat kepada pelajar. So hope pelajar boleh like, subscribe Cikgu Yati channel. Okey, itu saja. Okey, good work. Okey.
Diikuti dengan pemerhati kita hari ini, Cikgu Lee, dipersilakan.
Okay, terima kasih diucapkan kepada moderator kita, Cikgu Yi, dan syabaslah diucapkan kepada Cikgu Yati atas perkongsian yang menarik ini. Dan sebagai tanda sokongan dan juga tanda penghargaan, jangan lupa lepas ni ingat subscribe channel beliau, like serta share kan, okay, live kita malam ini. Okay, itu saja daripada saya. Terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih atas ucapan dan kata-kata sokongan ahli-ahli konti kita. Jadi kelas yang seterusnya adalah pada hari dan waktu yang sama pada minggu hadapan iaitu pada hari Rabu 9:30 malam. Sila layani www.academicyoutuber.com untuk dapatkan info terkini dan juga jadual kelas tuition percuma. Anda juga boleh vote cikgu-cikgu kegemaran anda di portal ini. Jadi jom kongsilah portal AYU ini kepada rakan-rakan dan guru-guru di seluruh Malaysia. Juga diingatkan bahawa semua kelas online percuma ini boleh ditonton semula melalui link yang disediakan di portal AYU. Semoga kita mendapat manfaat daripada kelas-kelas yang dijalankan. Jadi sekian sahaja. Terima kasih dan selamat malam kepada semua. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye semua.
Okay, bye semua.
Tuition online percuma. Tuition online percuma. Layari www.academyyoutuber bagi mengikuti tuition online secara percuma. Prasekolah, sekolah rendah, sekolah menengah, semua ada di Akademi YouTuber. Rujuk jadual di laman sesawang www.academyyoutuber.com. Semoga masa terluang anak-anak anda diisi dengan sebaiknya. Tuition online percuma mestilah Akademi YouTuber.
Dia putus-putus tak dia punya iklan